Sometimes I feel like I'm dying.
All right. Welcome back.
Segue.
Let's get, yeah, there we go. We got ourselves some little feedback. Hey, welcome back to Louisville, everyone. Day 2. We got, we're continuing on what we've been doing, right? Great times. Met a lot of interesting people.
It's been cool.
And then there's David. No, I'm kidding.
I don't know if he can out-top Big Mike.
Yeah, Big Mike was, I mean, I said, my wife even texted me. She's like, man, that guy was cool. We got Tate Oliver, Cardinal Financial, Brian Hurd, a.k.a.
right,
Chuck Norris.
Come on now.
Cardinal Financial, Cesar Muscovado Manufacturer, Home Sales Master. And we've got Mr. David Finney from Build Media. David's man, one of the top guys out there doing marketing, doing great things, and teaching both retailers and communities how to do a better job of getting the word out there and really improving the perception of the industry by what they put out in the marketing, right? So welcome. We appreciate you being with us, man. I know you're speaking tomorrow as well on the marketing session. Why don't you tell everybody what Build Media, how did it come to be?
So
tell about what you did in the industry.
Yeah, so I started in the industry in 2008 at 21st Mortgage. We were just talking about it. I did some collecting there. I did some marketing there. I did some business development there, some product development, a bunch of different stuff, both in the retail and the wholesale financing, the community space. I was there for 10 years, and I left in November of 2019 to start this company. I saw an opportunity in the industry for a more niche ad agency, right? That has a lot of custom products depending on, what the retailer needs, or community operator, or lender, or whoever. And then did that for, what are we on, 5 years now? Yeah. So it was just me in the beginning, like a lot of companies are. And our family sold our house in Knoxville. We decided we wanted to live somewhere new. So we did a year and a half in our RV. So we drove around the country, met with a retailer. Super fun. Oh, super
Please
fun.
do not tell my wife that.
It was awesome. She's watching, and it was fun. My wife loved it too. We traveled from, I think our kids have now been to like 47 out of the 50 states.
Wow.
Cool.
So we got a good perception of all of the country. So super cool.
Now visiting retailers, dealers, that sort of thing, or
Yeah, some of that. Some like going to ski resorts and going to the beach.
Okay. So it wasn't just pure retail.
No. It wasn't pure business. No, it was honestly mostly. Oh, they're just calling me right now. I'm gonna hang up on her. It was mostly fun.
Okay.
But and then because we were trying to find a new place to live.
Sure.
And so we settled on Grand Junction, Colorado, and that's where our home office is now. That's where all of our employees are, except for a couple. So it's gone really well, and we've got retail clients all over the country, community operators, some lenders, some manufacturers. So in the whole premise of it was to create a company that will help the independents, whether it's retail or community operator, whoever, compete with the large, billion-dollar companies. Yeah. So we kind of collect data, and like a big company would, and help leverage that data to help, a mom and pop sell more houses in Tupelo, Mississippi, or, Sherman, Texas, or wherever it is. So that's what we do. We do the full suite of marketing, websites, content creation, social media management, Google, SEO, any sort of digital marketing. We do it at all different levels. So it's definitely a cool spot to be.
That's awesome. So you said you did it because you saw a need.
Yeah.
What was that need?
The need was, the industry, when the industry peaked in the late 90s, I think we had a certain way of doing business and a certain way of marketing and a certain way of selling. And I think a lot of us, it is not, it's changing now, but 5 years ago, it was still very similar to the 90s. And we got a lot of folks kind of hanging on to that. And so I was like, we've got an incredible product that's got, we can build a house for a fraction of the price of site built. We can finance people that the traditional lenders typically won't touch, right? And, we've got all these options for folks that don't even know the industry exists. Whenever I travel somewhere, I'll go into the hotel bar or lobby or whatever, ask people, what they think of manufactured housing, and most people haven't heard of it. They don't even know what it is.
Or they don't know what it actually is, the quality of it.
The
first time I realized it was 5 years ago when I came here.
Yeah. No, it's this Franklin house over here, it's like a tub in the shower. It's wild.
Yeah.
And they're super high quality. They're super durable. Have you guys seen that? I mean, okay, it's wild. And there's like 12 shower heads. But And just to think, because people say, oh, they're not, they're not durable, whatever. It's like they drive down the road in an earthquake with 80-mile-an-hour winds to get to your home site. Like, they're durable.
Right.
So that's a lot of what we do, is try to help anyone who will let us help them tell their market, tell their potential home buyers how incredible the product is and what a great value it is.
A question go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So you said, if they'll let you, how willing has the industry been to adopt?
There's a wide range. Some people are super into it. Some people are super not into it. Yeah. But no, and we've got, I feel like it's the past like 2 years, because you had that whole COVID bump in sales, right?
Sure.
When they weren't selling themselves, but there was a lot more demand for housing from like 20 to 2022. And then that sort of cooled off a little bit. So, but I think people remember that, and they're saying, we want to get back to that. So how can we get there?
I think it's become a buzzword.
Yeah.
Attainable, affordable, whatever you want to call it, the flavor of the day. So
one of the questions that I had, David, is after talking to so many of these dealers, why do they not have just some of the basic stuff? Like, most of these dealers that are here,
website,
they don't even have a website.
Yeah.
So how do you find these dealers sometimes without just driving down the road? How do you find them to sell your services?
Manufacturers are a good resource, because they know where they are because they're buying from them. Mm-hmm. Lenders are a good resource.
Associations.
Associations. I speak at quite a few of the associations and about all sorts of different things. We have a pretty large newsletter that goes out. I think we've got maybe like 6,000 or 7,000 people on that. I believe it goes out. I like to say weekly. Some weeks I don't get it out, but for the most part, it's weekly. And that's a good resource. And all we do with it is if anyone listening to this is not on it, all it is information. Like, we don't try to sell anyone anything. Like, I think last week we sent a link to a Fannie and Freddie program page on there. I think it was Freddie, one of the GSEs. And it had a database of all the down payment assistance nationwide. And it's a super useful tool. And a lot of them apply to MH. And then
that's an area that still needs so much education.
Oh, yeah.
When Tay and I are trying to work on, traditional financing, like you said, it is available.
Sure.
Just don't know about it in so many cases.
Yeah. And a lot of the lenders, traditional MH lenders like 21st and Cascade and CSL, they're very different than the folks that are, selling in the secondary market. The GSEs.
They do a great job. Yeah. But, what we're trying to say is, hey, you know what? Yes, you can do a Fannie, you can do a Freddie, you can do an FHA, you can do a VA.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that, Tay loves to ask about is VA financing on a manufactured home. And hey, wait, you can do that?
Yeah.
Of course you can.
Oh, yeah. And you can do USDA too, right?
USDA
and all the government
credit boxes.
Yeah.
Incredibly flexible.
Is it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, there's a lot of just programs out there that people aren't aware of. So we like to put in there. We'll put in 5 tips to make your website perform better, or 5 tips to communicate better on Facebook Messenger to sell houses. Just a lot of good information to help people sell more. And so that's a great source of business for us, because we create digital relationships that turn into in-person relationships.
What about like on your stick-built stuff now, or if you go on a Zillow or a Redfin, you can do the 360 tour and you can flip these houses inside and out.
Yeah.
Do you think this industry is going to go to being able to see more of that with some of these models? Because I swear people don't know that these houses look like.
Oh, yeah. No. And so Matterports are big. There's some software companies like Trove. That's one of them right there. They have a cool product where you can kind of build out a house and see it.
I've seen some of those.
Yeah, no, that's super cool.
And spec it out.
Oh, yeah.
Different options, not just the house, but the windows and the faucets.
Oh, yeah, and your countertop and
really
all that.
Cool stuff.
And in the value of all those, so you got your website and you put something like Trove on it or whatever the tool is, and it keeps people on the site longer. Mm-hmm. And that'll increase your conversion rates. You get more leads. And it also tells Google from an SEO perspective, like, hey, this MH site has an average, time on the site of 6 minutes, and this one has 10. Google's going to favor the one with 10 and put you higher in their rankings, which means even more traffic to the site and more leads, so on and so forth. So the more tools you can have on your website, the better it'll perform and the more you'll sell. So all those tools are good. Yeah.
My analytics show 5 seconds.
Yeah. Hey, 5 is better than 3.
We're out.
In and out.
So how does that conversation go? So let's say you're talking to, one of the dealers that Tate's talking about. Don't have a website. Maybe don't think they need it.
Yeah.
They've always done it this way. They're doing, plenty of units a month. How do you convince them?
That is the hardest one, right? So and especially if they, again, like you said, they've been doing it one way forever. They've got a great referral network. And usually you've got to get to someone in the office that's a little bit younger, that's newer, maybe a new salesperson who doesn't have that referral network.
Tech-savvy,
Yeah. Convince them. And then you can get to your decision maker, your owner, and they can eventually jump on. But we've had ones like that. I spoke to someone up in New York a few weeks ago, and they didn't have a website, and they just weren't interested. And like,
eventually,
they're not for us.
Going to pass them by.
Yeah. I mean, they're theoretically you can stick around with a referral network, but eventually that's going to peter out. Or you're going to have someone moving right next door to you that is doing those things, and it will force the change.
Yeah.
So they'll all come around eventually.
So we've talked a lot, David, about, you and I have spoken in being able to help not just the retailer community side, but the industry as a whole move. I've been using the phrase "move forward," right?
Yeah.
Move forward into the future. Really, we're catching up.
Yeah.
Is what we're doing. So where do you see us? Or you mentioned it, and I agree. We're a lot further ahead than we were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But we're still lacking a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
So if there was one thing that you say going into 2025, what's something that folks really still haven't gotten a hold of that they need to really focus on this year?
I think it's understanding that, like, have you ever heard the phrase that good is the enemy of great? You ever heard that? Okay, I'm sure you guys have heard that. So everyone's doing good. And so, and there's a tremendous need for affordable housing. There's a tremendous need for manufactured housing, but we don't have the demand, right? So the need is out there. It's kind of like we're selling water in the desert, but no one knows we're there. So we've got to turn the need into demand. And I think a lot of what a lot of folks in the industry get caught up in is competing with that retailer down the street, community down the street, and not realizing that their real competition in most demographics and most markets is someone that's going into apartment, or they're trying to find a starter home, and they're not even thinking about manufactured housing. So they need to we need to get out of our little bubble and advertise to, the 25-year-old who just graduated college who's going to be a teacher, right?
Yeah.
If they grew up in, I'll use Nashville, for example. That's where I grew up. Let's say they grew up in Nashville. They went to MTSU. They moved out to Brentwood or even further out because they couldn't afford Nashville proper. They've got $250,000, $300,000 to buy a house with. Like, that's not going to get them anything in Nashville.
Yeah.
But that will get them a super nice manufactured home. But they're not even thinking about. They're not making that conscious decision. No, I want an apartment, not a nice Franklin with a tub in the shower. They're trying to choose which apartment they want. So we need to figure out how to get to that person.
Well, they don't see it.
Yeah.
They don't see the Franklin. They don't see the only thing they see is when they drive down the freeway, that old school double wide that's sitting right there on the freeway on the bricks.
Yeah.
It would be one thing if that double wide had the wraparound porch and you show some landscaping. It visually will make this completely different. I'm like, whoa, what is that? Who is that? You wouldn't even know that was a manufactured home if you had a different presentation to the property.
Exactly.
And that's holding a lot of people back from purchasing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's face it, a lot of it's municipalities too, because if I need to buy a house, I need somewhere to live, and I've got an apartment complex right here versus having to go way out of town, that's a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Because NIMBYism is still such a huge issue. Even though municipalities know they need housing, they're not allowing it. In so many different cases. So I think both those things need real change. Educating buyers, like you're talking about, showing them what we all see here today, but also continuing to educate municipalities and state and local governments. Hey, this product is not the mobile home that they were decades ago.
I think if I could wave a magic wand, if I could do anything and I wave a magic wand, and I really believe this, I think that the real key to changing, legislators and bureaucrats and zoning officials and elected officials changing their opinion is changing their constituents' opinion. And if I live in Mesa County in Colorado, if I could wave a magic wand and 75% of residents in Mesa County said, I want a manufactured home, regulations would change like that.
Tough to do, though.
It is tough to do.
It's tough to do.
But that's because they're not going to, if you've got an elected official and only 5% of their voting base wants a manufactured home, like that's not going to sway their opinion. But if 95% of it, again, very hard to do. But that's where the magic wand comes in. If I could wave that and you could make everyone want one, we would have no zoning issues. So I think you got to do both. You got to create demand, and you've also got to educate your zoning folks and elected officials and all that.
Well, I think Tay's point's really well stated. I mean, we've heard that multiple times. I mean, that presentation has to be better.
Yeah.
And if you have that presentation, not only can you show the client, the potential buyer, but you can also show the municipality, hey, this is a beautiful product.
Yeah.
In so many cases, it's equivalent or better than the stick-built guy down the street that's building 5,000 home communities.
Oh, yeah. I think
boxes.
Definitely better. Yeah.
You know what fad is taking off is like the barn dominium. So you see everything you see about a barn dominium. If you Google it, if you go to any of the barn dominium sites, you're not looking at a regular looking barn.
Nope.
Everything you see on barn dominium looks like a castle.
Yeah.
And it's super nice.
Oh, yeah.
And the visual every time you think barn dominium is going to be something way nicer than manufactured. But people don't know the barn dominium is a manufactured home.
Oh, yeah.
But everything you see about barn dominium, it makes it more attractive, makes people want to go buy it. And I think this industry needs more companies like yourself glamorizing it.
Oh, yeah.
It needs to be sexy.
Oh, yeah. We try.
You know,
And I think we're missing the boat. And you mentioned several of the things that I've been mentioning here lately. One, I think the public, that 25-year-old doesn't see the house because the retailer doesn't see that 25-year-old buying it.
Right.
It's a really good point.
So
Yeah.
Even though that
it's-
demographic is so much bigger now than it
I
was
think
5
we
years ago.
need a bigger vision to understand that, look, there's 20-some odd million families that can't buy homes. Stop worrying about Palm Harbor down the street.
Yeah.
You're going to have that 8 to 10% no matter what.
Right.
So don't worry about that. Stop cannibalizing each other.
Yeah.
Some of the things I was going to talk about tomorrow on Ruffles and Feathers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Just stop cannibalizing each other and go after this. But that means, just like that, the Economist said in his deal yesterday, we got to go after that higher end buyer, right? What we consider higher end, but it's just a site-built buyer can no longer afford to buy a site-built home.
Yeah.
You know, and then the other part of it is, how do we get the public to start saying, why can't I put one of these in here? And it's not going to be MHI. It's not going to be the state association that does it, because they're talking to the policymakers, these retailers, these communities, the professional housing consultants, everybody that's out there selling has to be advocating.
Mm-hmm.
They have to start putting all the information that Build Media puts out. They need to start putting it out on their platforms.
It's builders
So
and
that-
developers as well. I mean,
So-
because you can do it at scale much larger.
That's
You know, if you do 1 or 2 or 3, well, why not do 50, 100, 1,000 at a time? And they're starting to see more traction with that.
Because if I, as a consumer, go on Facebook and I saw your page and you had a post about some manufactured home day that I didn't even know anything about. I'm not talking about an ad. I'm not talking about where you're pitching a house. I'm saying where you're posting something about manufactured homes. And I see that and I'm like, wow. And then you're talking about the fact that this is far more affordable, $100, maybe $110 square foot versus $200, $300. I'm going to start saying, like, hey, why can't I put one of these in my neighborhood?
Right.
I can afford that.
And I don't even think the price is even going to be the problem at that stage, because then they can see, hey, if I want to go buy a $700,000 home, it's going to take me almost a year to get it built. Whereas I can go buy a $400,000 mod and I can have it in 90 days, 120 days. That's a game changer for a lot of these people.
Well, look at some of this
ready
product
to buy.
that Clayton has and Champion and Cavco. I mean, this stuff is not cheap.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible product. Very well made, very well designed. The floor plans are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you simply can't tell the difference.
No. We've got a couple of younger employees, and I took them to the Clayton lot in Grand Junction.
Yeah.
They're both, there's 2 women, they're both in their 25 and 29, I think. And they never been in one because I think, where they grew up, it wasn't a thing. and they loved it. I mean, there was no stigma. We keep talking about
Once you
stigma.
go in it, yeah.
Yeah,
Once
and
you
I
go in, it goes
don't,
away.
I don't even know. I know that I know there is stigma, especially on the official side. But if you went out again and asked the average 25-year-old that makes 50, 60, 70 grand a year, like, I don't think there is a stigma. I just think it's an awareness issue. They just don't know.
Well, there's that
exist.
stat, and you may know what it is. I've seen it a number of times, but the amount of younger buyers that would consider a manufactured home now, I mean, it's exponentially greater than it was 5 years ago. Because I think that stigma is finally starting to dissipate.
Yeah.
They're not the mobile homes that they were decades ago.
Yeah.
They're just not.
And stigmas can change. I don't know if you guys are familiar with, I'm sure you're familiar with Saturday Night Live. Do you remember that sketch with Chris Farley, and he was a dude living in the van down by the river? And now, if you live in a van down by the river, it's a $300,000 Sprinter van, and you're running a tech startup in California, right? So this concept of living in a van has gone from like the worst place you can be to almost one of the best places you can be.
Or you and your family decided.
I know we did
drive around on 47,
and I loved it, man. And it was, I loved it. I bet once our kids go to college, we'll go do it again. And it's stigmas can change, and that's all advertising, that's marketing, that's PR, and that's you got to get everyone from the retailer to the lenders, the manufacturer involved, and we've got quite a few.
It's a collective effort.
It is.
Sure.
We got quite a few billion-dollar companies in this industry that could really help push that. Probably more than they do now.
But it's even things how you talk about it.
Yeah.
I think we spent some time with Clayton yesterday, and they'll tell you it's a house.
Yeah.
It's a home. It's not a manufactured home. It's just a home.
Just get rid of the word.
Just get rid of the word.
Yeah. No, and I think that's.
I know it sounds really simple, but I think it's
hard. Yeah, it's a hard habit to break, not for home buyer consumer wise, but for folks.
But I mean, even though we're conscientious of it, it's I still say manufactured now.
Yeah,
I got to catch myself, but it's a home.
Just call it a house. I mean, we don't call a car a manufactured automobile. No, it's just a car, right?
Right.
My watch was built in a factory. It's not a manufactured watch. It's a watch. So, if we could get rid of that and just call it a house, I think it would be. And then we don't have to differentiate ourselves in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. So David's done a lot of things within the industry. David and I have done stuff together. We've done some events online where we've promoted things, done some classes. The last one we did was in November.
It was,
right? In November we put together what we called the Path to Mastery. We had some people that signed up for it in the industry, and we were going over time management. We were going over leadership, professional development, goal setting, all that stuff. I came in and talked to them about that stuff. And out of thank you for that.
Oh, man.
Uh-oh. Look at this.
Oh.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Thank you from us, brother, for being part of
I like
what
that.
you do, man.
This is like the first award I've ever won. It's like the first dollar you get, right?
So Darren, I wanted to present that to you.
Got my fingerprints on it now. I'm gonna get some Windex and clean that up. I like that.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate everything, the help you've given me and us, and anything that we can do. And I'm sure as we move forward,
we'd love to collaborate.
We want to form a group of people,
coalition,
that want to just really push this thing forward.
Correct.
A lot further than we are, and a lot faster if we can. But man, I appreciate you and appreciate your time coming out here. I know it's been a long trip.
Yeah, it's all right. It's good for me.
But for those of you that are here in Louisville still, are going to be here tomorrow. David's going to be a part of the session on marketing, sales, and marketing tomorrow at 11 a.m. So come check that out. Be a part of that. And any last words, suggestions for the folks at home?
If you had that magic wand.
I know if I had that magic wand, I mean, I think that if the best advice I could give is just if you're in the industry, just think outside of your box. I think that's if we can all do that.
If we can lenders, manufacturers,
everyone. If we can just be like, get outside of our 10% of new home starts that we've been stuck in for like 2 decades. Get out of that and realize that we've got an incredible product and incredible value,
incredible opportunity.
Yeah, and there's no reason the industry can't be 10 times the size it is. So that's my closing thing is we can be huge. We've just got to go do it.
Love it. So, that's it. Just got to go do it. Well,
cool. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. And for those of you that are here, like I said, go check out the session. Come by the booth. Let's all hang out. Let's have a good time. But we'll bring you some other stuff as we go along. Thanks.
Cool.
All right.